that's exactly what you should be doing. And if not, if you can't make that happen, it should be in your local area. But yeah, like everybody's 5 minutes away now with the internet. So that's the thing we tell everybody is just keep in touch with us, keep in touch, even if you don't continue doing coaching, like let us know what you're up to. I still talk with tons of alumni students, and we've, many months after, maybe even a year after, have set them up with opportunities. I know Mike just sat down with Jordan Reyes, and I think they're in LA together like a few days ago. And he got him some kind of opportunity with a supplement company where he might even have like a full-time gig with them. And Jordan's been really good about just checking in with us and seeing what's good. Doesn't have to be like, hey, do you have anything for me? He's, it's just like, hey, what's up? What are you doing? Here's what I'm up to. So yeah, I think it's really cool to see that, and would love to, create those opportunities with all of you as well.
We also had a former student come to San Diego, and he just hit us up and like, hey, do you, Austin, and Derek Johansson want to grab lunch or something? That was like a month ago. And we all just grabbed lunch, and that's a great, networking opportunity too. And the more people see you, the more they'll realize that you're part of the industry,
Roman said he might try to come to the trafficking conversion summit. He's trying to change his plane ticket, so he'll be in the States while that's going on.
So when is that again?
Cool.
What's the date on that?
It starts on the 31st. March. I'm definitely gonna try to be there.
March 31st.
Yes.
And that's in San Diego?
Yep. Yeah, through to April 2nd is the actual convention.
Okay.
Anyway.
Well, I'm going to be there. Austin, are you going to be there?
I'll be there, yeah.
Yeah, so our routine every year, because we live in San Diego, is we usually don't buy the ticket for the actual conference, but usually everyone's there, and everyone just kind of like TNC is basically kind of like an excuse to hang out with internet marketers and drink. That's like basically what I see TNC as. And that's kind of where all the good networking happens, to be honest.
Sounds about right. It sounds like fun.
Yeah, at the bar.
Yeah, so, I'm going to be there. If you guys are in town, definitely hit us up before and let us know, and then we can all hang out and get a little Zoom reunion going on.
Is the
Heck yeah.
Where would you recommend staying? Like, I don't really know the geography of San Diego at all. I mean, I know where the convention center is, but that's it.
So convention center is downtown. You can stay downtown, close to the convention center. I mean,
it just depends, like how much Ubers you want to take,
Yeah, that's
if
true.
you want to stay by the beach, like shit, I mean, I would too. It's just going to be like, a 15-minute Uber in and out, which could add up if you're doing that like twice a day for 3 days. But again, I mean, it's an expense.
But it was just a balance. Like it's accommodation in the, like, is it the Gaslight Quarter or something?
Gas lamp.
Gas lamp.
That would be a great place to stay right there. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's within walking distance of the Marriott. I mean, yeah, check Airbnb, check VRBO, check hotels, see what's good.
Yeah, if you want to just walk to the venue, then downtown Gaslamp is where you want to be.
Right.
Okay. I mean, I'm also like you guys, not going to go to the event. I think that was just try and meet people who are there.
Honestly, your best strategy if you're going to TNC is to follow me and Austin around and have us introduce you to people that we know. And just,
and hit people up before you go there as well, like people that you've been talking to on Facebook. And it's always good to set up meetings, even if it's like, hey, let's get a coffee for 15 minutes. I would love to just, chat with you, hear what you're up to. The more you can like set those in advance, the better, because some people like book their whole days with stuff. Other people like me don't book anything. But if there are people you want to talk to, try and set that stuff up in advance. I actually should make a note for myself to do that, because I'm pretty bad about it. But I mean, to get the most out of it, for pure networking and that side, I would stay closer to the event.
Okay.
A couple other things. So definitely hit us up. Your best networking opportunity is, again, just to follow Austin and I around, hang out with us. We'll introduce you to the people we know, and that'll give you some cred, some street cred. And then what also some people did a couple years ago was, after the whole event was over, some people stayed in PB where Austin and I live, Pacific Beach, and we just hung out for like a week or so, or 5 days or so, just write copy during the day and then eat some food and then do whatever after. So we're going to be there either way. So if you guys wanted to, whoever's going to be there wants to like hang out for a couple days after the event, that'd be cool too.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'm going to be there the 29th to the 5th of April.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, we live there, so we'll be there. Okay, yeah. So that's TNC, right? So the other thing I wanted to point out is, like, for you guys to progress on your careers, like, the biggest thing is just keep writing, keep improving. Write every day, and then the other thing I want to say is that, like, what you want to do is you want to identify high value people to have connections with. People that can be valuable to your career. And you want to, I wouldn't say maintain like connections with those people. Like, if you like have a connection with them, they're going to lead to more connections. The whole upping your value thing is basically two things. Number one, continually getting better at copy. Okay. And number two, continually increasing your connections in the industry. Okay. This person, if you can get that person to introduce you to that person introduces that person, then you show up at an event, then you show up at another event, people see your face, suddenly it's easy to get jobs that way. Okay. So that's kind of like the next echelon of after your success on Upwork. The more clients you get, the higher value you get, the more you raise your rates. And that's just kind of the cycle. Okay. The whole getting better at copy thing, number one, the more valuable you are, the more valuable your skill is, the more you'll get paid. Okay. That's just straight up the equation. Like, the better you are at copy, the more you're going to get paid.
Especially when you're writing on a performance basis. You gotta be good, because the people you're going against are good, and you're paid if you beat them. So in order to beat them, you have to write good copy. That being said, like, there's other less competitive niches where you still have to be good, but not like the best. But yeah, no matter what, if you're not learning, you're stagnating, and that's a pretty quick route to just losing clients, not being happy with yourself. So yeah, it's just a matter of like always working on it. But yeah, Ning's thing on writing every day is key. I mean, even now I have to remind myself to do that. And
this business is writing. So
yeah,
like, a lot of people kind of confuse themselves as to like, how do I get better at writing? Well, you have to write. How do I get better at basketball? You have to play basketball. How do you get better at surfing? You have to go out and surf. Like, you can do shoulder exercise or this or that, but the number one thing you should be doing is surfing. Same thing with writing. You can be reading, you can be doing other stuff, but like, to get better at copywriting, the number one thing you should be doing is copywriting. So that's the biggest lever for improvement, is what I'm saying. And like I said, like, if you're improving every day, just like 1%, 0.1% every day, it adds up a lot. And so you'll look back at your writing in 3 months, 2 months. Even if you look at the change in your writing from the end of this, like today, as opposed to where you started off in this program, there's a huge improvement for everybody, right?
every time.
So if you take that and you, like, if you have a really good piece of writing and you know someone valuable and you just show that to them, that's a powerful leverage tool. Okay. People like higher up, they're looking for people like you. They're looking for people who have the copy chops and haven't been discovered yet. Okay. So if you have if you build up your portfolio, build up your good pieces of copy, try to make them good, and you show them to someone, boom, someone reads it. Okay. They're like, oh, this isn't bad at all.
Yeah,
no one's
I
hired
would
them yet?
even,
Yeah.
I would
like,
even, you know, if you're going to some of these events, have the PDF tool on your phone and have like a folder of your best stuff, gussy it up, make it look as pretty as you can, and then like literally have PDFs of your work on your phone, you know, in case that comes up in conversation. I wouldn't push it, but if they're like, you know, what have you
it
done?
could even be as easy as like, oh, hey, you're in this industry. Like, I would love to get your feedback on something that I wrote.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah.
See that?
Nice.
You say, hey, get some feedback, and then they take a look at it, and then they're pleasantly surprised by how good it is, and then you can be, and then they're like, oh, who are you writing for? And then you're like, oh, like I'm writing for X, Y, and Z, but I'm actually looking to pick up higher quality clients. Do you know any? You
Yeah.
just subtly open the door, right? It's a little bit of
Yeah.
it's a little bit of social network game, basically.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like I had something I was gonna say. I don't know. At least for me, I'm not like I'm even just keeping up with my friends and family. I'm like, I have to like remind myself, I'm just, that's kind of the person that I am. So then when it comes to clients, it's like, oh, fuck it. I haven't talked to this client in a month. Like, fuck them. I haven't seen my friends. Like, and so I have to like catch myself and say, okay, no, like just make this a routine. Like, follow up with that client, follow up with that person, that connection, whatever. So for me, it actually takes work. That's something that doesn't come naturally to me. So I think for all of you, it's finding where you sit on that spectrum, and making, networking, really just making, connecting with people, part of your routine and part of, your day to day. And that's something I'm definitely working on. But the, people that I look up to, are, much more, maybe routinized with that, where they have a system for doing it. And so I encourage you guys to, set aside some time to like, just, hit people up, see what they're doing.
I think it would be kind of valuable for you guys if, I would say, like, Austin and I, we should probably kind of share how we went from basically unknowns to, I mean, we can basically get any job we want right now. So maybe, Austin, do you want to share how basically from like before we met, like how you went from Kevin Rogers introing you to Dan and that kind of thing? So I was going to say, like, Austin had kind of reached the pinnacle of Upwork at one point, right? So like, you kind of grinded your way through Upwork, and how did you progress after that?
Yeah, well, it was, I mean, it was a lot of things we just talked about. It was, finding clients that had ongoing needs, which allowed me to write every day, try new ideas, some leeway to like experiment with my own creativity on their business. And then it was just, having a couple of, I mean, yes, they were controls, but nobody was competing against some of this back end, like internal stuff I was doing for Rick. So so I showed Kevin like what I had done, and it was like better than dog shit. So he's like, all right, well, you can at least write something long for him that's like okay. And then it was, I mean, if you actually look at Kevin Rogers' RFL program and like what I did with it, it wasn't, I actually kind of went totally against the grain and didn't really do much of what he advised in terms of like the content creation and becoming, an expert in a sub niche. I just kind of like tried a bunch of stuff and showed that I was working. And then when it came to the end of that program, I was like, I still have no fucking idea what I want to do, by the way, 8 weeks later. And he's like, well, you know, you're clearly like trying and working and improving. Like you should talk, you know, it seems like you just want to write, you know, really good copy. So you should talk to Dan Ferrari. And he didn't even introduce me. Actually, he just like said, here's his email, let him know I sent you. And then from there, just kind of, again, same thing with Dan, showed him that I, you know, had been working and trying different things. And it was like, you must be this tall to ride this ride at like an amusement park. I think I had like met the threshold of just showing that I could research and come up with ideas and at least write logically coherent copy, which puts you at a point where you're now coachable to somebody. And there's what I was going to say is there's a brief window in a writer's trajectory and where they have gotten good enough and they're probably getting close to breaking out. And it's a really valuable point to publishers, to copy chiefs, where they want to catch that person right at that inflection point.
Yeah.
And so I think it's getting all of you to that point and then saying, you know, here I am, you better get me now because I'm about to be gone.
Yeah, that's a really good, I really like what you just said, Austin, because like I know that point in my own career. I know that like I know a lot of people who've had that point, and that's their breakout point where your skills get to a certain point where you become valuable, but you haven't been discovered yet, and then you get picked up, and then your career kind of takes off. That's kind of like the model that I've seen is like your skills get to a certain point, and then someone discovers your talent, and then
And so you should be listening to what the feedback people are giving you, because the only way to know if you're at that point is to hand your work over to somebody who knows good from bad and what's working in the market now. And then they'll be like, oh, this is pretty good. Like we should keep talking. And that's the point where, you know, like, okay, they didn't just brush me off. They actually want to keep chatting. I'm probably like, now I'm, you know, you can tell you're valuable. So you have to actually put your stuff out into the world to gauge feedback and see, you know, if you've made it to that point yet. And so you should always kind of be pinging, I think.
Yeah. So let me kind of like paint this in a more like black and white type of scenario for you guys. The situation is basically like your success as a copywriter depends on how valuable you are to a business. Okay. Your value, how valuable you are to business, is your skill as a copywriter. The better your skill, the more valuable you are. The more valuable you are, the more people will seek you out and pay you. And business owners, when you meet them, they're going to be pinging to see how valuable you are to them. They're going to be pinging to see how big of a value, how much value can you bring them. Okay. And so that's the whole game, is like, you improve your copy skill, you make yourself more valuable. The more valuable you make yourself in terms of how much value you can bring to a company, how much money you can help them make, then the more money they will pay you. Is that, yeah? All right, cool. Awesome. So, did you want to continue your story?
No, I was kind of thinking still. I don't have anything that's ready to pop out of me at this very moment.
So
just out of curiosity, what was for you, Austin? What did it mean that you had reached the peak of Upwork? Is that because your rates couldn't go any higher or something? Like, how do you know you reached that point?
Well, it wasn't so much a peak within Upwork that I had reached. I could definitely have gone and kept, you know, raising my rates, trying to get clients at 200, you know, 250, whatever. I didn't want to do that because I could see that tied your compensation to an hourly rate. And I didn't want that, because at that point I could see, you know, there's still writers out there getting royalties, having performance bonuses, people who are more of a consultant role, who are, you know, paid on how they performed, more of like a traditional sales structure. And coming from the real estate industry where you're paid on commission, I wanted that. I didn't, you know, I knew that was what I was working for the whole time. And so it was more of a transition into, all right, I've explored this area of Upwork. It doesn't really seem like people are getting paid in the way that I want to get paid. So let me explore different arenas with different people. And I knew the best writers weren't like finding their best clients on Upwork. So it was more just, it gave me like a playground it gave me a gym to like get stronger, improve in, practice, try things. But ultimately it wasn't the long-term thing. And I kind of knew that from the outset. But even after, talking with Dan and kind of working towards getting into the Dig agency, I was still working with Rick on Upwork, and actually even my other client, Jeff, the tennis client. Even for, 4 or 5 more months before I actually moved off there completely. So I think that answers it, but it was more just like my own awareness of seeing that, all right, I have reached basically where I wanted to get to in Upwork, so it's time to move on.
So how many sort of years had you been writing before you started the Dig agency?
So I guess I started in April, May of 2016, and then I took Kevin's coaching program about a year later, maybe April-ish, May of 2017. And then I started talking to Dan that summer around like May or June. And then really just kept kind of doing my thing. Dan's communication style is like, especially if you don't know him well yet, is like ghost for 3 weeks. And then you're like, oh, fuck, I said the wrong thing. I'm doomed. And then he'll hit you up and be like, hey, this looks great. Yeah, let's talk. And you're like, well, oh, all right, I'm fine. Like, I'm still here. And so, that went on for months until we met in Tampa for Copy Chief Live in like October. And then, so what am I trying to say? I mean, dude, the thing is, you can't compare apples to apples because I never had any coaching or like anybody looking at my copy other than me. I'm kind of a stubborn person like that, where I'm like, I'll just do it myself. And so that handicapped me big time. I probably could have done it twice as fast if I had someone looking at my stuff. It was about a year and a half until I started working with Dig, but I was getting tons of practice. So it's really hard to say. Like, I don't want you to say like, oh, well, then I need to get 18 months before I get to that point. Cause it's, everybody learns at a different speed. And certainly if you have a coach, you have a big advantage. Or if you just have a copy chief or somebody to show your stuff to, which I was an idiot for not doing sooner. So yeah.
I have 2 things to say. Number one is that, like, in terms of getting better, this kind of goes on to the whole like mindset thing that I talked about last week. Is like, you kind of know what you're supposed to be doing. Everyone knows what they're supposed to be doing. And at this point, we've talked a lot about what you're supposed to be doing. It's just there's blocks against doing that. So in terms of moving forward, I would say, like, think about, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing every day? And if I'm not, why am I not doing that? And then think about like what your personal blocks are and how you can kind of remove them. So that's one thing I want to say. And the other thing I wanted to say was related to something else that I completely forgot. Austin was just talking about what?
Don't compare yourself to other people.
That's a big one.
Sure, that's part of it. Austin was talking about how to get there kind of faster or whatever. Everyone's at their own speed, like I said. Like Austin said, basically. When I started out, it was still the same, about like a year and a half of grinding on my own before Dan offered me that dig in thing. Depending on where you are, that's different. It's important to always try to seek feedback from people that are better than you. Not better than you in terms of worth, but better in terms of than in copywriting, right? So I really can't emphasize how valuable that is. Just anybody who's in a mentor type position or someone who's further down the line than you, who is nice enough to give you advice or info or feedback on a certain thing, I can't emphasize how valuable that is.
Yeah. What was I going to say? I mean, when you're trying to impress or show that person that you're worth their time, it's really less about the outcomes as the inputs. So when I mean, that was one thing Ning told me when I was starting. He's like, dude, it doesn't matter if your copy for Dig is world class or as good as Dan or Aaron, because it's probably not going to be. But if you just show them that you're writing every single day and taking their feedback and implementing it, that's a win. That's all you have to do. And that made it so much simpler, because I was kind of scared. I was like, oh, I'm in the big leagues now. Like, am I going to stand up to the test? And it was really less about, how good I was than just practicing and writing all the time, every day. So if you can put yourself in that position, it kind of does take the pressure off. It's actually scary. Like, it's like once you get your first win, like that's when it's actually scarier, because then you're like, oh fuck, I got to keep doing this.
Well, there's a difference between like every day I'll write something and I trust that I'll get better just by doing that. Just by writing every day, you'll get better, right? And then there's a difference between that and like, oh, like how good am I? Right? A lot of writers have that kind of self-judgment. Like, am I good? Like, oh, if I'm writing this, is it bad? If I show someone who's better than me, is it going to be good or is it going to be bad? If they think it's bad, I'm not going to be worth it. There's a lot of that going on too.
Yeah.
So that's
for a while, like every time when I would hit, share Google Docs link with Dan or Aaron, I'd freak out and be like, oh, they're going to find me out. Surely today is the day where they say, Austin, you are dog shit. Every time. I mean, still sometimes I'm like, oh, fuck. I don't want to share this yet.
That whole game is in your brain. I want to
totally
clear that. That's just not even real.
No.
No, like there are very few there are some people who will, but there are very few copy chiefs that are good or valuable for you that will go to you and just be like, this is total dog shit. Like, you have to rewrite this, like blah, 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 blah. No one's really going to say that. Like, even if, but like the fear of that is always there for every writer. That's just what I want to say. It's that fear is just all in your head. It's literally just all in your head, slowing you down from writing more.
Yeah, it's the resistance.
It's the resistance. Yeah.
Stephen Pressfield calls it. Good book.
Yeah.
War of Art. Read it.
That's kind of like what we have. Does anyone have any questions for us before we jump into like?
What sort of stuff did you write every day if you didn't have client work to do?
I had my own business at the time that I was working on, so I had stuff to write all the time. And then once Dig In started, then I just wrote Dig In stuff.
Okay.
What is Dig In?
Dig In is the copywriting agency that Austin and I both started out in.
It's technically Dig Out now, but just call it the Dig Agency.
Yeah, back in the day before, when did the whole Agora change happen? Like December or something? I don't even know.
What do you mean?
When did Dig In become Dig Out? It was like the summer, right?
Oh yeah, that was like September, October.
Okay, yeah. So before then, it was just a copywriting agency that worked with Agora, and that's what both of us worked in.